All right, let's do some inside baseball here. Turn your mic down now that we figured out the problem, and I will turn it up here, and then we should be good.
On the stream, so now I'm going to turn. Okay, I don't know what's happened. Listen, I'm not.
By the way, the microphone sounds better, so at least we got that part. You know, we'll get. Yeah, we do. You know, doing this before you came back to the studio. How am I supposed to remember how to do things like that? I mean, yeah. Was it? Okay. That makes it a unicycle, right?
Not great. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a couple minutes. And the plan for next week, according to the Baseball Insiders, I got that coming up for you here in just a little while from now. Clemson has lost a guy for the upcoming season that was expected to be a main starter for them across the offensive line. We'll tell you who and to what coming up in a few minutes as well. The Olympics rapidly reaching their conclusion. They are set to finish up on Sunday afternoon. We'll give you a medal count as to where the Americans stand now as the men's curling team dropped the bronze medal match earlier in the day. So 4 years after going and winning Olympic gold, the men's curling team falls out of the competition and will bring no prize back to the States this year. We're going to break down the medal count for you in just a little while from right now. The U.S. women's national soccer team hit the pitch again yesterday evening, but had a very different look to it. And I'll tell you what that means here in just a little while. And NASCAR, the boys went and spun circles last night down in Daytona, Florida. Qualifiers are set, and the starting grid for the Daytona 500, also set to be brought on Sunday, is official, is on the books. We'll tell you what that's going to look like coming up on Sunday. Our buddy Kevin just jumped in on the Facebook chat at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or check the YouTube stream out. Go to YouTube, search The Rob Brown Show, and you can pull us up live right there. As a matter of fact, if you do that on your smart TV with the YouTube app, you can actually put us on your TV like the television celebrities that Lonzo and I wish that we were, and watch us from right there in your very own living room, office, waiting room, wherever you happen to be. Kevin says, let's get some college baseball talk. It's opening day. It is college baseball season. We'll take a look at the preseason top 25 coming up later on in the show. We'll look at some college basketball, too, because we are at the point where bubbles are beginning to burst around the country. I'm going to give you a list of bubble teams that I think are in, a list of bubble teams that I think are out, and we'll start taking a look at what the field we think is going to look like on March 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th when round one of the NCAA March Madness tournament gets fired up. We'll do the same thing on the women's side. Obviously, Dawn Staley's girls have had a stranglehold baby on the number one spot. Will they be able to hold that? We're going to talk about that and a lot more coming up throughout the course of the show. How do I get in touch with you, Rob? Well, I'm glad you asked, metaphorical listener. I just made up for this exact situation. It's very simple to do so. The phone lines are open for you today. We are taking your calls at 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. You can text the program on the Preferred Home Services text line. I do have the text line up and open for you today, 71307. Start your text with ESPN, and we will read them on the air. Preferred Home Services text line, 71307. Start your text with ESPN, and we will read them on the air. You can also tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, because I am very creative at The Rob Brown Show on Twitter, at Lonzo on Word on Twitter, at Lonzo on Word, and you can tweet everybody at the station at ESPN Upstate. Follow us across all the social media at ESPN Upstate. A lot to get into today, a lot of stuff to talk about. Let us start the show.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys are here. What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
It does appear at this point that when it is all said and done, college football through the 2025 season will stay at 4 teams. $450 million forfeited by the groups in question here by not making the switch. And, there's a part of me that's not surprised, Lonzo, right? There's a part of me that's not surprised because the little dogs at the table had to eat. They had to get something that they considered a compromise. They had to get something out of this deal that they thought was to the betterment of their schools. They wanted a chunk of it, and they wanted to make sure that the structure itself, the format itself, would be friendly to them. Of course, the big schools were going, now we're good. We just want to make sure that 450 gets split up between those that are in the playoffs, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, knowing that if they did not add some way to include smaller teams, they would end up ultimately with more of the money. Basically, the keys to that particular vehicle were in the hand of the small conferences. They decided they got left out of the ultimate deal, and they went ahead and tanked the whole thing, which means that the next round of contract negotiations for the next CFP structure, which will start in 2025, are going to be much more deliberate and probably much more heated. So, Lonzo, in a weird way, I am both entirely surprised and not at all surprised by this decision.
I think this all comes down to Nick Saban. It's his fault. He told them that he'd be retiring in 4 years. So this way they can assure that Alabama is in the championship game for the next 4 years. And then after that, he'll be gone, and then they can open it up to everybody else.
Because Nick Saban's afraid of Cincinnati and USF. That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
Let's just call a spade here. Nick doesn't want any more of Luke Fickell. That is my my guess.
He doesn't want a shot at any more SEC teams making it in. Because if there's, if it's a bigger amount of a shot of teams making it in, he could have more than 2 SEC teams in. He could get like 4.
There were some other considerations that came into play, and Heather Dinich pointed out a few of them that were concerns. One of them, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, stated that he felt that right now is not the right time for expansion. He said that we should not expand until we see the impacts of NIL rules, how they're going to play out, how the transfer portal ultimately is going to play out, and what the NCAA's governance structure is ultimately going to look like as it's currently undergoing a major overhaul. We've been telling you about that for the past couple of weeks. And Jim Phillips and a few others have said, we need to let the smoke clear and see what the NCAA is ultimately going to look like in governance before we decide that we want to change its biggest feature. There were some other obstacles that came into play. The Pac-12 had an issue with the way expansion would work because they wanted to keep their prestigious relationship with the Rose Bowl the way that it always had. They wanted to cling to that traditional day and time along with their overall media rights of the Rose Bowl. One of the big topics that came up for disagreement in these meetings was about revenue distribution and whether the Power 5 conference champions should receive automatic bids to an expanded playoff, which was staunchly supported by the Big Ten, but not by some of the other conferences sitting at the table. So the traditional bowl game concerns, we talked about those came into play, as well as some other situations, and we will take a deeper dive into all of that and the conversations that have been held over the past couple of days by the commissioners and presidents a little bit later on in the show. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. We have the MLB and the MLBPA. They sat down yesterday as we are rapidly approaching what should be the start of full spring training. Yesterday was the day that pitchers and catchers were supposed to report, and shocker, they did not, because they're locked out and have been since December 2nd. Well, now we are getting a more solidified date about when a negotiation would need to be settled if we were going to have opening day as scheduled and not have to either A, postpone and shorten the season, or B, postpone and accelerate the season, something that players have said repeatedly they do not want to do. Well, yesterday, the MLB Players Association and the MLB owners, Lonzo, sat down for a meeting, pulled in their chairs, and then effectively pushed them right back up and got up to leave. They met for a whopping 15 minutes yesterday, the fate of the season on the line, and they basically sat down in the same amount of time it takes me to eat a pack of McDonald's French fries and then decided that'll do for now. Bye.
Yeah, that meeting lasted longer than this first segment has.
I looked at the clock and Lonzo is absolutely correct. That is a fact. We have been doing this first segment for 16 minutes. This segment has lasted longer than the meetings yesterday to determine if they could save baseball. Ladies and gentlemen, we are more committed to bringing you high-quality sports talk entertainment than Major League Baseball is to baseball. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome, I guess. Unless you're a baseball fan, and then you're probably pretty upset right now.
Yeah, probably. An addendum to that story, however, is that it was announced earlier this morning, I guess really late last night, but predominantly the news got out earlier this morning, that Major League Baseball and the Players Association are planning on extensive meetings next week. Multiple meetings spanning multiple hours over the course of multiple days. Starting on Monday, they are expecting to get together to have the first of a handful of meetings to take place over the week. But judging by the standards set yesterday, Lonzo, if they have extensive meetings, they might meet for like a whole hour next week to try to save the sport from dying.
Yeah, but let's not go crazy. It won't be in a row.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, you got to break them up like 30 minutes tops, right?
You got to pace yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare you can hold my attention for more than half an hour, and all they are trying to do is, save the future of an American sport. No big deal. What's 20 more minutes, Item number 3 on the lunch breakdown, ladies and gentlemen. The Daytona 500 starting lineup is set. We ran the dual qualifiers last night. The pole was already set. Kyle Larson won the pole for Hendrick Motorsports on Wednesday. He'll be joined by teammate Alex Bowman on the front row. Third will be Brad Keselowski, who will start third after winning his qualifying race last night. He'll be joined on the second row by RFK Racing teammate Chris Buescher, who won the second qualifying race last night. Joey Logano was to have started 20th overall, but will now go to the rear of the 40-car field as he has to go to a backup. Final lap of qualifying last night, Logano was in the lead and looked like he was going to end up winning that qualifier and be spotted on row 2. Late in the race, Buescher made a push, got underneath Logano. Logano, I don't know if he thought he had room. I don't know if he just couldn't see because the setup of the new car. I don't know if his spotter just absolutely crapped the bed. I don't know what happened. But Logano decided to try to throw a block, ended up touching the front right quarter panel of Buescher, ended up getting spun around, hit the wall on the backstretch, crumpled up the front end of the car, and Joey Logano will now go to a backup car to make a run at the Daytona 500. We do have 4 non-chartered cars that have made the field. You remember the name Greg Biffle. He has made the field starting 28th. Noah Gragson will start 39th. Jacques Villeneuve is a 50-year-old former F1 racer. He'll be starting at 40th. And what's really interesting here is at the 35th out of 40 spots will be a young man by the name of Kaz Grala. Kaz Grala drives the number 50 car, Lonzo, for Team Mayweather Racing. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is now in the NASCAR ownership game. And in his very first race as an owner, his car races its way into the 500, but it wasn't without drama. Kaz Grala had a speeding penalty late in the race of the second qualifier last night, knocked him a lap off the pace, which would have meant that he would not have qualified.
Wait. What's a speeding penalty in NASCAR? Did he go too slow?
No, the opposite. There is a speed limit on pit road for safety purposes, obviously. There's a speed limit on pit row. Kaz Grala, unfortunately for him, crossed that threshold. He got caught speeding. The pit police ended up nabbing him, which means you have to go back and do a pass-through through pit road. So basically, you have to drive through pit road again under speed. It's kind of like when your mom says, go clean your room, and you go in there and you just kind of move some stuff around, and she sends you back to your room, not to clean it this time, but just to sit in there and think about what you did wrong. That's what that speeding penalty is. So Kaz Grala has to go back through pit row. He ends up a lap down because at Daytona, it takes about a lap and a half to get your car back up to full speed. However, late in the race, a lap down, he ended up finding and linking up with a pack that was still on the first lap, passed the last car on the lead lap, got back on the lead lap, and then beat that car to literally at the wire race his way back in. So Floyd Mayweather will now be represented at the Daytona 500 alongside Michael Jordan as owners with cars entered in the Great American Race. I got to tell you, Alonzo, I like that for multiple reasons. I can't stand Floyd Mayweather. I think he's a bad person. However, I know there's a lot of folks out there that like him, a lot of folks that may not otherwise be NASCAR fans. Now you've got Michael Jordan in the game. You've got Floyd Money Mayweather in the game. You have added celebrity. You have added minorities. You have diversified dramatically the cast and crew that will be rocking around the Daytona 500 on Sunday, and that is nothing but a good thing for the sport. We'll talk about that later on in the show as well. But we got to get back on the clock because, shocker, I know we're not. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now. Clemson down a player that was expected to be a big help for them this year across the offensive line. We'll tell you who it is and why they're gone when we come back. My name is Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo's at the helm. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your...
So Steven asked if I was sitting on the
Furman
floor, and I'm
Pelicans
not,
men's
Steven.
basketball. Every play, every game.
I'm
on
sitting on
ESPN
I've got
Upstate,
my
97.7
outdoor
FM
patio
Greenville,
table
97.1
inside the
FM
house, and I'm in the
Spartanburg, on your
extra, the
computer,
office
smart
in my
speaker,
mom's
and
house where I'm hanging out. But then, I'm on a laptop, so I've got that weird angle of people who don't know how to fix their laptop. And now it's sitting on books, but the problem is it spins really easy on the books.
All right, so no one's buying. You're at the Taj Mahal that one percenters live at, and it's just
Yes.
a
Look at that. Look at that. That is just the definition of the Taj Mahal.
It's much more progressive than the pictures that are on your wall.
Mom's got better taste than I do.
She's at least in this century, so that helps.
Dang, Alonzo.
I'm just kidding.
Woke up and chose violence today.
I am like foggy, so I don't know why. I woke up with a smile. It's never good.
What was the technical? So Lonzo and I, so here's the thing that's weird, right? Like I don't know if I can get it. Here's a little behind the scenes for you.
We only have
All right, so this machine's called a Comrex, and this is what I broadcast through. It connects digitally to a machine that's in the studio, and then that basically decodes and puts it back on the air. I don't know why.
There's the
I thought
And
that's
then
the sound that
there's
goes in
the
a StreamYard, but I
best.
guess
You're
not.
listening to the best sports talk show in the state, according to the South Carolina Broadcasters Association. The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. I am Rob Brown. He is Lonzo. You're you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Here's one of those little connections. You know, it's been interesting to me that, when I got to the Upstate 2 years ago, by the way, Lonzo, you know what tomorrow is? And I realized this today. Tomorrow would be so today was the day that I accepted the job 2 years ago. This is the 2-year anniversary of me accepting the job to move to Greenville and be on the radio with you guys. Tomorrow, Sunday will be the 2-year anniversary of when I started doing shows with you guys, as a matter of fact. So since it's Friday and we won't be on Sunday or Monday, I'll tell you today, happy 2-year anniversary, me. Yay.
Way to go, you.
Yay.
Way to make it 2 years. That's
2
awesome.
years in. As far as I know, I am going to show up and my stuff will not be in a box. So I think we're going to keep this bad boy going for right now. I'll tell you, it's been a heck of a 2-year ride, and I appreciate all of you guys out there that have stuck around with us the entire time. I genuinely, sincerely do. All right, let's talk Clemson football for just a minute. Clemson offensive lineman Hunter Rayburn is lost. His career is now over, confirmed last night by Clemson through the Greenville News. This news brought by Todd Shaughnessy of the Greenville News. Rayburn is a redshirt junior from Lonzo, speaking to those connections, right here in Pensacola, Florida, as a matter of fact. He got the confirmation that due to a nagging neck injury, he must call his football career over. Started 6 games last season at left guard and center. He was in the lineup for the Tigers' final 5 games, including the 20-13 win over Iowa State, the Cheez-It Bowl, and will stay on with the team. However, it will be in the role as a student assistant. Rayburn is a 4-star recruit ranked number 18 in the offensive guard category by ESPN coming out of high school. 97 snaps in his first 2 seasons, including a redshirt freshman year in 2019. Worked through injuries last season and played 506 snaps throughout the course of the season. Now, this is not the biggest blow in the world for the Tigers because there is only a little bit of bad news. Clemson was expected to return all 5 starters across the offensive line this year. The bad news is they will not. The other good news is that they will still return 4. Marcus Tate at left guard, Will Putnam at right guard, Jordan McFadden at left tackle, and Walker Parks will start at right tackle as of right now. However, without Rayburn, the Tigers would need Mason Trotter to step up and take over the quarterback of the offensive line position, holding on to the football to start every play. Last year, Trotter made 5 starts after recovering from a broken hand, but did not play in the bowl game. Clemson set to start spring practice on March 2nd with the annual orange and white scrimmage on April 9th, which we will be in attendance for. And we'll see what this offensive line looks like for next year as the Tiger offense goes back to try to reinvigorate itself after what most of us would have called a lackluster season, at least in terms of recent memory for the Tigers last year. Start with, I feel awful for Hunter Rayburn. It's one thing to decide that you're ready to walk away from your career. It's another thing to have it decided for you. Feel awful for the kid. I have no doubt that he is hurting more than any of us could even imagine, having this decision be made for him due to an injury. That being said, I mean, the good news, the silver lining to this, if you're Clemson, Lonzo, is the fact that you've got so many other starters coming back and available, right? I mean, you're running back 80% of your starters from an offensive line last year. That was good, but got significantly better as the year went on. I mean, I think if you go back and you look at the offensive line that played against Pitt And then you go back and you look at the offensive line that absolutely kept South Carolina on their heels at the line of scrimmage all game long in the 30-0 win. A marked improvement. And I don't know if that's because of adjustments across the offense. I don't know if that's because later in the year they realized that the more you give Will Shipley the ball, the better your team's going to be. But the numbers were better. The play across the offensive line was better. Offensive line, I don't think was the problem, and I don't think most Clemson fans think it was the problem. So even though you've lost your starting center, bringing back your starting guards and your starting tackles and plugging a guy in center that got pretty significant playing time last year despite a hand injury, it's bad news for Hunter Rayburn. I hate it for the kid, but it's not the worst news that Clemson could receive.
Yeah, it stinks anytime a player has to give up their career, but it's still kind of cool that he gets to stay on and help with the coaching. One thing that I don't recall in recent memory, I mean, last 5 or 6 years, I don't remember ever hearing about, man, Clemson really needs to work on their offensive line. Their offensive line is usually really, really good enough that we never talk about them. And that's the thing. If you don't talk about the offensive line, they're probably pretty good.
Yeah, offensive linemen, you'll have a few that stand out as individuals, but if your offensive line has a problem, right? And we talk, I mean, this was the story of the Carolina Panthers season this year. If your offensive line has a problem, Lonzo, it's glaring, right? Like, it's glaring. If your quarterback is struggling with throwing the ball, you can cover that up a little bit, right? You can run the ball. You can cover that up a little bit. If your wide receivers are having problems with the drop C's, you can cover that up a little bit. If your offensive line's having a problem, none of the rest of it matters, right? None of the rest of it matters. There's no way to cover that up. It impacts the run. It impacts the throw. It impacts the numbers. It impacts everything. And you're right. Last year, when we criticized the Clemson Tiger offense and the struggles that they had, I don't remember a point where I watched a game all year and thought to myself, my goodness, Clemson would be able to do more if not for this offensive line, right? I never got that impression. There was never a point where I looked at this team and thought, if only the OL was better. They were good. They were just fine for what they needed. And you're bringing back 80% of them this year. If you're Dabo Swinney, I don't think you could ask for a better foundation to build off of than bringing back 80% of an offensive line. That was good last year. That was good. If DJ Uiagalelei or Cade Klubnik or whoever else is going to be the guy next year, is going to reinvigorate the quarterback position next year, they need to be able to rely on the starting four plus the addition of a new center in order to have whatever offseason work take hold. This is good news for Clemson. I mean, it's not good news to lose your starting center. It's not good news to lose a guy that you were expecting to be the first man to touch the ball on every play. But if you're going to lose a guy, it's good he's surrounded by four other guys that had significant experience last year, that were all starters last year, that have already built that chemistry so that when you have the next guy stepped in, and again, keep in mind that you had Mason Trotter play in a number of games last year, right? Like, this isn't a situation where Trotter didn't play and is going to have to learn everything. He's already got some chemistry with the offensive line. You don't have to build too much more. And that is ultimately the good news for Clemson, despite a very disappointing loss of Hunter Rayburn out of Pensacola, Florida, to a neck injury. Again, he'll be joining the Tigers coaching staff as a student assistant this year. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. The Preferred Home Services text line's open, 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We will read them on the air. Tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a moment. We've got Olympics to talk. We got NASCAR to talk. We got soccer to talk. We got NFL to talk, believe it or not. Yeah, the season's over, but the season's never really over, is it? I'm Rob. He's Lonzo, and this is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
All right, folks, be right back. Give me 30 seconds, please, and thank you.
He just pooped. Good luck.
Oh God! Send him to your bathroom.
No, this is the boys' bathroom.
Oh. No, Stephen, the dog does not poop. My nephew is here. He's hanging out in the living room, and the bathroom that the boys' bathroom, as he calls it, is right here next to the office that I'm doing the show in. Did not know you could hear my mother say that, but cool. Now you know the inner workings of the Brown household, eh?
Well, I muted afterwards.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I brought it back just now, so I muted afterwards because I'm thinking Rob doesn't realize that through the Comrex we can hear quite a bit. So
And that's all right. You get the behind the scenes of behind the scenes.
this is so weird
What's that?
being in the studio alone again. It's weird.
So next weekend, Clemson plays the Greenville Triumph on February 26th. And then on Sunday, the Braves are going to be bringing the national championship trophy 7th. So I guess I'm going to be spending the whole weekend in Clemson.
Wow.
Pretty rad. I get to see the trophy, Lonzo. We won the World Series, man.
Wow. 15 seconds.
Valley sweet and salty nut bar today.
Opinions wanted.
Well, opinions are like what we say. Everybody has one.
Call 844-GSP-ESPN. Local sports talk on The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate, South Carolina. Great to be back with you. I am Rob Brown. Alonzo back in the network studio all by himself. It's weird to be all by. You doing okay back there, big guy? I know it's significantly quieter in the room than it usually is during breaks.
Well, I don't have to have the lights on either because for some reason in the middle of the day you like the lights on. We found an in-between place that I don't think you're ever extremely happy with, but that's
It's production value, man. The people need to be able to see me, Lonzo. They need to be able to see me.
By the way, the lights are not on at all, and I can be seen. And I might add that my room is brighter than yours because natural lighting.
It's just it's your glow, buddy. It's your glow.
Well, it is, and that door looks huge. It looks like a big, huge cathedral door.
It's really just a regular closet. Okay, listen, we don't need to talk about my closet doors, all right? That's not the compelling content that wins us the
Yeah,
Star Wars.
Lots of places we could go with that. For
Yes,
sure.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. Real quick for the Braves fans in the hood, just got this little note a minute ago in my email, Rob Brown at ESPNUpstate.com. A press release from the Atlanta Braves. Next weekend is going to be mucho busy up there on the hills of Clemson. As we told you yesterday, on the 26th, which is next Saturday, the Greenville Triumph are going to be playing a preseason exhibition friendly against your defending NCAA men's soccer champions, the Clemson Tigers. The Triumph and the Tigers will square off at historic Riggs Field on the campus of Clemson on Saturday afternoon for a little friendly match of footy. And then on Sunday, via the press release I just received in my email moments ago, following their World Series championship, the Atlanta Braves are on the road with the 2021 World Series trophy. They are doing a victory tour with 151 stops across the Southeast, commemorating their 151 years of Braves baseball. And the World Series championship trophy will be at Clemson University's baseball game versus the University of Hartford on Sunday at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Fans can show up, take photos with the trophy, enjoy the game, and more. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? We got some friendly footy on Saturday in Clemson. And then the very next day, you can ride up to Clemson, take in a little Tiger baseball, and get your photo taken with the 2021 World Series Championship trophy with the Atlanta Braves logo etched right there on the front. How about Clemson being the sports capital of the upstate next weekend, ladies and gentlemen? I got to tell you, I didn't plan on spending my entire weekend at Clemson this weekend, but it looks like I'm going to now. If you think I'm not rolling up there for some footy on Saturday and some baseball and to finally see the Atlanta Braves championship trophy on Sunday, you got another thing coming, folks. That is, look, take all the stabs at him that you want, Lonzo, but this is how you make your camp-eye a destination, right? This is how you make people want to come to your stadium, want to get involved, want to keep an eye on your school and what they're doing in the sports world. They have involved themselves with the Triumph, which I think is rad, right? That's a great connection. Clemson very well probably is going to be a pipeline for talent for the Greenville Triumph moving forward. So they invite the Triumph up to play a match on Saturday. And then the very next day, I think it's fair to say that the upstate of South Carolina is Braves territory. I don't think I'm going out on any thin limbs there. So not only do you have a baseball game on Sunday against Hartford, but you invite the Braves to come bring the trophy and set it up and let your fans and their fans take pictures of it. This is the kind of stuff that gets you a foothold in the community, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I didn't plan on spending my weekend at Clemson next weekend, Lonzo, but I got a really good reason to be there both days.
Anytime you get a chance to be around some hardware like that, you see it on TV, that's one thing. But to be right there next to it, you mean I get to touch it, but to be right there next to it, up close, and see how big it really is and how cool it is to see the trophy in person, it's a pretty cool deal. I've been around the national championship trophy. I've seen All-American awards and things for college and stuff. And being real, these are things we'll never win ourselves, except for the best sports show in all of South Carolina. We've seen that. We've held that trophy, but seeing these big trophies, I remember being really close to the national championship trophy, and Mark and I daring each other to go up there, and we got our pictures taken with it and stuff. And so getting to see the things for the Braves, no, you should. This is the area for it. You definitely need to bring that in. And so if you were thinking about going up there now, you got a better reason to go.
Yeah, it does not take much to get me in to go to watch a college baseball game, right? Like I covered the regionals last year in Columbia with South Carolina playing in the regionals. Attended, I've done South Carolina at Clemson. I've done Clemson at South Carolina. It does not take much. I've done a Furman game. Did a Furman game. Ouch, that stings a little bit. It does not take much to get me to attend a college baseball game. But now the Braves are bringing the trophy. Oh, yes, sir. I will be there on Sunday. I expect some of you guys will as well. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll put a bow on hour number 1, and then it's on to hour number 2. We got some NFL talk to get into. College basketball, I'm going to tell you some teams that are on the bubble I think float, a couple of teams on the bubble I think pop, all that and more coming up in hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Say bye, my friends at Harley Davidson of Green.
It just hit me all of a sudden. It's weird.
Next 2 hours and 8 minutes as I can.
That's not necessary. Take advantage, and you're still muted, by the way.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that, America.
'Cause I'm sure I'm not the only one in the upstate who had to deal with the storms last night because they were rough. And it's not like thunder. I don't recall any thunder. It's just the amount of rain and wind. It was rough.
You know who else got to deal with those storms?
Oh, you still drove through it, did you?
Miserable, dude. It is a 7-hour and 15-minute drive to get here. Normally took me about 9 hours last night. I was supposed to have gotten here at about 12:05, 12:15, because I prefer to drive at night, right? Like if I'm going to travel, I like to drive at night. I will leave the day before, after work, late in the afternoon, and drive so that I have the full extra day, right? And so I got to about, I got through Atlanta, and then I got to about Auburn, and it was a nice drive. And then when I got to Auburn, man, it was freaking hammering rain. To the point that for probably a good hour and a half, I was doing like 30 on the interstate. And I at one point I just pulled over and stopped at one point. I'm like, I'm just gonna hang out.
Don't you You see people pulled over the side. It's like, come on, you can drive through this. But if you can't see, you can't see.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't mind driving in the rain. It doesn't bother me. But when it gets to the point that it's hitting the head with the windshield so heavy that it doesn't matter. Like the windshield wipers can't go fast enough. Yeah, I pulled over at one point, just hit a rest station and hung out for a little while. I will tell you what drives me up a wall and what will make me like. I do this things though, where if I get road ragey, like I want to pretend I'm Magneto and lift the car in front of me and throw it into the woods. Ladies and gentlemen, do not drive with your flashers on in the rain, please. Do not turn your flashers on. Don't do it. There's no need for it. We see you already. That's what the bright red lights on the back of your car are for. And when they flash, they end up filling my whole windshield with yellow light. It makes it harder to see you and not hit you. Turn your flashers off.
If you feel the need to turn your hazards on, just
stop driving.
Yeah, just stop driving.
Yeah,
exactly.
Unbelievable. I passed a convoy of people all doing like 20 on the, like if you're going to go 20, right? Like I get if you got to slow down to 35, 40. If you're going to do 15, 20 miles an hour on the interstate, just pull over and go hang out in the Waffle House. Yeah. We have an echo now. LOL. Too much, Rob. Did we change something?
It's probably your.
Yeah.
It's just me being overly quiet. I could just take my. Anyway, we'll see.
Join the Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have one massive complaint that I would like to lodge. I need to speak to a manager, please. Karen Robb is in the house. Lonzo was talking during the break, and if you're not on the stream with us at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or on the YouTube page by searching The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. As a matter of fact, you can search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube, and if you got a smart TV, ladies and gentlemen, you can put it right there on your TV. As a matter of fact, during the last break, I walked out there into the living room, and nephew Lou is out there watching the TV right now with us on. So, hello, Lou, from like 8 feet away. Anyway, while we were on the stream during the break there, Lonzo was telling me that my man is a bit sleep deprived because he lives in a place called The Compound, and he got apocalypse rain yesterday evening that kept him up throughout the night. I drove through a chunk of that to get here to the beautiful sunshine state of Florida yesterday evening. Made it pretty clear down to about Opelika, Alabama, down where Auburn is, the loveliest little village on the plains, and then just got absolutely hammered by rain. Now, if you got to drive in the rain, like bad rain, like bad rain, and you don't have a choice, I get it. And if you got to slow down on the interstate, I get it. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, nothing makes me wish I could turn into Magneto, levitate your car and throw it into a ditch quite as much as people who turn their flashers on in the rain. Ladies and gentlemen of the upstate, ladies and gentlemen of America, ladies and gentlemen of the world, if it is raining and you are so uncomfortable that you feel the need to turn your flashers on, just pull over. Just pull over, find a rest station, find a Waffle House, find a whatever you got to find, pull over and stop. See, because when you turn your flashers on, all that happens is those bright-ass yellow lights start to fill my windshield with nothing but bright yellow light, and it makes it even harder to see where you are. There are already 2 or more very bright red lights on the back of your vehicle for that exact reason. If you turn your flashers off, or if you turn your flashers on in the rain, Lonzo, it makes me want to see if I can successfully execute a pit maneuver on the interstate. It's the worst thing. Just stop.
But Rob would never do such a thing. He just thinks about it.
Correct.
But I completely agree. If it scares you so much that you have to put on your hazard lights, just pull over and wait for the storm to go by.
Please, like I'm genuinely begging you.
Hey, find a Walmart. Just go walking around or something.
Yeah, anything. Get a Subway. Grab a meatball sub. Get it toasted. Whatever. Pull into a gas station. Go grab a gas station hot dog. Because if you are the type of person who drives with your flashers on in the rain, you deserve the consequences of a gas station hot dog, ladies and gentlemen. I stand by that. When it is raining, turn your flashers off. You don't help anybody. You don't help anybody. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help me. Just stop. Please. I'm begging you. That's it. Hour number one of that. That's it. I just had to get that off my chest, you know. Had to put it out there in the world. Let's take a break. When we come back in hour numero dos, we are just about to the NBA's All-Star Game. We're going to take a look at up and down the conference standings because I got a couple of teams I think might surprise some people and sneak in towards the end of the year. We got to talk more about the college football playoff decision. They're going to stay at 4 teams through at least the next 4 NCAA seasons. We'll break that down and a whole lot more. My name is Rob Brown. Lonzo's on the ones and twos, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate.
Mr. Lonzo, Lou would like to say hello to you.
Hello.
Hi.
And then let's see, Keegan and Steven and a whole bunch of other people say hello, everybody on the internet.
Hello.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. This is Nephew Lou. He's the one I talk about on the radio all the time. And where are you? What are you watching on TV out there?
You.
I can hear you on the TV out there. Yell real loud and then we'll listen. Yell real loud.
You.
Okay, listen. There you are. I heard you on the TV. Okay, say bye, everybody on the internet.
Bye,
Mr. Keegan says hi. Says hi, Mr. Keegan.
Hi, Mr. Keegan.
There you go. All right, go do other stuff away from here. Watch the cord.
Come see.
All right, go watch stuff on TV. There you go. That's Nephew Lou, ladies and gentlemen, the next generation of great broadcasters in the Brown family. And let's see if she'll come up here. I think I've introduced you all to, hey, come here. Come here. This is Dakota. This is the dog. She's the best. And she's old. But she's a good dog. Huh. Good girl. You left your dog.
I didn't know she was in here.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. Come on, my girl. Come on.
So there's behind the scenes. You got to meet the fam today, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, some of them anyway.
Well, some of them, yeah. The little brothers at work doing lawyery things.
State. No matter where the ball bounces,
30 seconds.
Your hookup on your radio at 97.7 FM in Greenville and 97.1 FM in Spartanburg. On your computer at ESPNUpstate.com. On your phone or tablet on the Odyssey app. On your Amazon smart speaker.
ESPN Upstate.
And on your HD radio at WFBC HD3. At home, in the car, in the office. So many ways.
Smacking yourself in the face when you have rings on. Bad idea.
I say smacking yourself at any point is a bad idea. Unless you just need smacking.
For an official Rob Brown.
Well, it is me.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. It is great to be back with you. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, back in the network studio as we're talking sports with you. We got another couple hours in the books, and then we call it an extended week. A bit of a programming note. Please keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that we will be off on Monday for Dia de el Presidente. It is President's Day, and we will be off on Monday. I will be back on the road to rejoin you all in studio on Tuesday afternoon. Looking forward to that. But for now, we got a couple of hours here. Let's see. Texter says, Rob, do yourself a favor and check out the Potbelly Deli for lunch in Clemson. Have you been to the Potbelly Deli, Lonzo?
Well, I think I don't know that we've, no, I haven't. I haven't been to Clemson many times. The few times I have been there, it's been for football or for business, and I've been in traffic for a really long time. So, but it sounds like that they serve pork products there, Rob.
I mean, sounds awesome. Like I will indeed check it out. I will be clearly I'm going to Clemson twice next weekend, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. So why not? Texas says flashers are for when you go a certain speed below the posted speed limit. Yeah, right. I get it. Like if your car's busted and you got to get from exit 50 to 52 to get it fixed, and the car will only go 50, go ahead, turn the flashers on. But if it is raining, do not turn the flashers on. All right. You're just filling up other people's windshields with light at that point. You're not helping yourself or anybody else. Just stop. All right. You're not talking me off that ledge. It's not changing.
I think generally the people who do that think they're helping everybody else, though. I think it's not about them. I think they think that they're helping everyone around them to see them better.
I think they think they're protecting themselves from everybody else, right? Like I'm making myself more visible. I'm making myself more visible. They can see me, therefore they won't hit me. You're not. You're just filling up my windshield with light. You're not helping. You're making it worse, man. You're making it worse. Hey, here's a fun story for you. It's not fun. It's stupid and hilarious. For some reason, I saw this earlier today, and it absolutely made me laugh. There is a story going around the internet right now, Lonzo. Stephon Diggs had himself a phenomenal season this year for the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, the Bills made a great run through the playoffs. The Bills were just a couple of points away from knocking off the Chiefs and potentially finding their way into the Super Bowl. A great run for Buffalo, and Stephon Diggs was a big part of it. Well, Stephon Diggs, this past Monday was Valentine's Day, a day for love and a day for affection and a day to spend time with those that you want to spend time with. Except for Stephon Diggs, couldn't figure out who he wanted to spend time with. And Stephon Diggs got straight up shown up on social media because apparently Stephon Diggs, Lonzo, decided that he was going to try to pull the old Mrs. Doubtfire. See, Stephon Diggs, he lined himself up not one, but two separate Valentine's Day dates. Now, I will tell you.
So this man thinks himself to be some sort of player.
Apparently so. Apparently so. So Stephon Diggs lined up not one, but two Valentine's Day dates. Except for, Zoe, they weren't Valentine's Day dates. They were Valentine's night dates. See, Stephon decided to invite two separate young ladies to a hotel to spend time with him on Valentine's Day night. I will let you determine what spend time with means in this particular context.
Playing some Monopoly,
Oh, yeah. I'm a
things
big
like that.
Uno guy,
Yeah.
I'm a big Uno guy. So Stephon Diggs apparently invited not one, but two separate young ladies to a local hotel to spend some QT, some quality time that evening, Monday evening with him, except for he forgot that social media is a thing. These two young ladies did not forget social media is a thing because the two women that Stephon Diggs spent time with on Valentine's Day, so both of them began posting that they were spending QT with Stephon Diggs on their Instagram stories and profiles throughout the evening. And people took a shine to that. Wait a minute. This seems interesting. Stephon's got two, but hey, adults are adults, right? And some adults like to share their toys. It's weird, but that's their thing. Let them live and let live, baby. Except for the two women who both tagged themselves at the same hotel, the same night, in the same place, both tagging themselves as spending the evening with Stephon Diggs of the Bills.
How close were the rooms?
We don't know.
Okay.
I need more details, okay? Because in my head, I'm trying to figure out exactly how Stephon Diggs thought he was going to pull this off, right? Like, I'm trying to figure out how Stephon Diggs thought to himself, okay, all right, I got young lady number 1 in this room. I got young lady number 2 in this room. They don't know about each other. It's Valentine's Day, and I need to make sure I get QT with both, and neither knows that it's happening, right? It's like that scene in Mrs. Doubtfire, right? Where the family is eating lunch or eating dinner at one table, and the boss he's doing the interview for the big job with is at the other, and he's like running back and forth and trying to change into his Mrs. Doubtfire costume and then take it off and then leave it on and then take it off. The question here is, though, do you risk putting them on the same floor, right? Like, do you put them on the same floor where you leave girl A's room, you run down the hall, and at some point during the night, she goes, you know, he sure is leaving the room a lot, and she peeks out and she just watch you slip into another hotel room on the same floor? Or do you put them on different floors, but understand that dramatically increases the time between rendezvous points in both rooms, meaning that you have to, as the evening wears on, come up with more and more and more and more and more creative and elaborate excuses as to not only why you have to leave the room twice, but why it takes you so long when you do, right? Because, like, I can come up with a few off the head. Oh, babe, my agent is calling me. I got to take this call. Oh, man, coach is calling me now. I got to take this call. Oh, that's my publisher. That's my publicist. I got to take this call. There's 3, and I'm out. Oh,
See,
that's my dog's vet. Got to run outside and take that call.
I am guessing that Stephon Diggs, who has a little bit of money, is staying at a decent hotel, maybe with a good view, maybe with windows that open in the bathroom, and he being very agile, playing the position that he is, could possibly parkour up and down from one floor to the other, you know, jumping down.
That's fair. I
jumping
mean,
back up.
again, I need more. I need some variables. I need some stuff here.
Or if you're gonna do this, you gotta involve, you gotta have a wingman involved. Someone who can help you out, can knock on the door, can can make phone calls, can do. Not that I would know about this, but I've seen it in movies that you involve some of your boys to help you out to pull this thing off.
Yeah, all right. So let's see. According to a couple of online websites, one of the women has been in an off-again, on-again relationship with Stephon Diggs for a number of years. They fight, they break up, they kiss, they make up, as the great Katy Perry once said. But he also has another young lady that he's kind of been flirting with and hanging out with, and he brought her to the same hotel. They were both posting on their social media about it. People caught on. Again, I would really, really like to know exactly how Stephon Diggs thought he was going to pull this off, right? Like, because at the end of the day, even if you figure this out, like, even if you set up a situation where, you know, you get the rooms like they're on the same floor, but they're around the corner from each other. And so, you know, when you leave the far one, you can go like, oh, I was going to the elevators to go down. When you leave the close one, you got to be a little more sneaky.
He runs like a 4.3, 4.4 something.
Oh yeah, and
like
that's
that.
the other part is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he's got speed to get Lonzo. I'd like you to read the comments in the chat because
Yeah, we're being hypothetical here.
100% hypothetical.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a scenario that we're going with.
As I have told my lady friend multiple times since we've gotten together, Lonzo, there's only enough Rob Brown to disappoint one woman in the world at the time. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to disappoint more than one at a time. So Stephon Diggs, like even if you set this up to whatever the most efficient 2 girls in 2 rooms at the same hotel, but I can't get caught doing it room situation would be. And even if you've got 4.39 speed in the 40-yard dash to get up and down the hallway, like how how long do you spend in one of these young ladies' rooms before the other one goes, something's up and tries to figure it out or catches on, right? Like, I got to think, it's like, okay, you invited me here for Valentine's Day. You got a hotel room at a nice hotel on Valentine's Day. I think we all know what the context is of that setup, right? And so you show up for the date. Stefan's in the room. He's got the flowers and the chocolate and the candy. And then after how long does Stefan depart and go, okay, I got to go get this. It's my agent. And then how long can Stefan be gone before the young woman in question goes, something's up here, man. Like, my dude's been gone a hot minute, and start snooping a little bit. And more importantly, Stefan, how did you not tell both of these young women, listen, I like you. I don't think we should make our relationship public. I don't want the public getting all up in your business. You're special to me. I don't need this in the public eye. Do me a favor. Don't post about this rendezvous on social media, please. Because we found this out when both women posted the stories about their Valentine's Day night with Stefan Diggs on social media at the same time from the same place. Bravo, Stefan Diggs.
You know, there's one positive thing out of this for Stefan Diggs, and that's the fact that it's out of season now, because imagine him having to go into the locker room the next day after all this went public, the kind of razzing that he would take from all the guys. That would be rough.
I mean, in fairness, you know, on one hand, he gets to go into the locker room and say to the boys, I mean, how many of y'all spent Valentine's Day with two women? Because I did. You know, I just didn't want to bring up the fact that they didn't know that it was happening.
Does the story say he was successful in his endeavors? And also, you know, how did it end up?
We do not have the details of the conclusion of the evening. And I don't know how much money I would pay in order to find out how this story ended, Lonzo, but I do know it's what I have in my wallet, whatever that amount is.
Where did this happen again?
I believe in New York.
Okay.
I could be wrong. The details of the story are relatively light so far. Suffice to say, they have the IG post of both of the young women in question.
I know someone who has multiple sources. Maybe they could find out for us.
I would like to know. I would like to know. Let's get hashtag sources on the line and see if we can find out. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, we take a look across the NBA conference standings as they go right now. The Lake Show may be done for the year. Anthony Davis down again to injury, ladies and gentlemen. So Braun is going to have to Thanos and do it himself. Kenny, we'll take a look at the East and the West and see who we like and don't when we come back on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
Let me tell you about my friends at Prisma Health right here in the Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I played sports for a very long time, and because I am clumsy and bad, Okay, I cannot unmute your mic, Lonzo.
Well, I was, eating, so
Fair enough.
I've been told that when I eat near the mic on the stream that it's really loud. So,
Well, you eat. I'm gonna go grab another bottle of water.
which of course makes me want to do it on purpose, but I'm not going to.
Texter said, "Uncle Rob, move on." BRB, kids.
All right, so I am going to mute Rob, so you don't hear all that background stuff. So. Not to worry, I will bring him back in a moment. Yeah, I know, Steven, you're only here to help, and I appreciate it.
Alonzo.
Okay, I've now unmuted you because there was noise back there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad it's donut day.
Friday is donut day.
What kind of donut are we enjoying?
This is a cream-filled birthday cake donut.
Do I have sprinkles?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's birthday cake. You gotta have sprinkles. Yeah.
It's delicious. Let me show you how committed I am to donut day. I forgot my hats and I had to pick up a new hat, and this is the hat I picked up to wear for the rest of the weekend.
That's nice.
Steven said, OMG, Rob, 3,000 calories in one donut. Maybe. I'm gonna say it's close. Keegan, I'm also gonna be fat for your wedding, buddy. I apologize. I've tried. That's not true. I did drop like 15 pounds, but then I remembered that Friday was donut day. So
Yeah, that one donut put that 15 right back on. Oh, we got 30 seconds.
For free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
We're trophy hosts. Sorry, trophy winning hosts. Named the best sports talk show in South Carolina. The Star Award-winning Rob Brown Show. Only on ESPN Upstate.
the Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. I want to talk some NBA, but I came across this, and I think this is a story that you guys are going to care more about, frankly. So I'm gonna call an audible. Those of you on for the NBA talk, hang out with me because I will get back to it, but I want to get this in here now. As the league, when I say the league, I mean the Shield, the NFL. The league has apparently announced that they are going to reevaluate the way that taunting penalties are approached across the National Football League starting next year. Now, these are reports. This is nothing official from the league, but there are a number of websites reporting that the league is going to reevaluate what taunting is, how it is enforced, what the punishment is for it, et cetera, because when they announced the taunting penalty before the 2021 season, there were a lot of us, I point at myself here, that kind of got afraid that referees would go overboard with the taunting calls, right? Like they would get a little carried away. And granted, what is taunting and what is not is obviously very subjective, right? Like you might see somebody and go, that's obviously a taunt, where I go, it's a game. Who cares? You're wrong. I'm right. But I would make the argument because, Lonzo, if I recall correctly, when we were discussing the buffed up taunting penalties when they went into place last year, you weren't like in favor of them, but it didn't really bother you as much as it bothered me, if I recall correctly.
No, it doesn't bother me at all, really, because except for the subjectivity of it, and it's left to the discretion of the referee, which is kind of a lot of calls like pass interference and things like that can be subjective. But as far as taunting goes, you no need of getting up in someone's face after you tackled them or something like that. I mean, just walk away.
I'm good with that.
They know.
I mean, if they know you own them, then what's it matter if you point at them as you run down the field or not, right? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't bother me. And it is absolutely subjective. If Lonzo and I were both referees, obviously Lonzo and I would have worlds apart opinions of what would be subjected to a taunting call or not. I mean, that's just clear. Well, the NFL is reportedly going to be taking a look at that, as last year there were a number, as a matter of fact, according to NFLpenalties.com, a taunting penalty was called 43 times this season, each offense costing a team 15 yards and resulting in a fine. A lot of people took some question with it. And there were some examples that I think that we can point at and go, this is why it's a problem, right? All the way back in week 9. I don't remember if you talked about this one, Lonzo, but we have a promo running about the worst taunting call of all time. Chicago Bears linebacker Cassius Marsh was fined $5,900+ for a controversial targeting call in week 9, allowed the Steelers to kick the game-winning field goal. However, in that game, there was a referee that I, to this very day, believe hip-checked Cassius Marsh as he ran off the field after Marsh had been involved in a taunting situation on the previous play. You and I fought this a great deal. Yes, we did.
And I was right, but it's okay. Thank you for bringing it back up, though.
You were not right, and you are welcome. The official hip checked the Bears linebacker and after the taunting call, and it basically cost Chicago the football game. It was embarrassing. So Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk reports that the NFL owners and coaches have favored an enhanced focus on the taunting penalty. However, they say that referees, they believe, got carried away with it this year. And so there may be changes coming to the taunting penalty next year. We do not know what they are. It is, as of right now, something that I really haven't seen a ton of details about, except for that the competition committee begins today. And one of the primary efforts that they are going to be making is to identify potential rule changes to the taunting rule. And Florio says it will be getting a closer look. Now, he does go on to say there's no reason to think the league will retreat on their desire to see the rule enforced properly. He claims, though, that a source with knowledge of the dynamics recently explained that there's a concern officials are trying too hard to find a taunting when perhaps there isn't one. On multiple occasions last season, players who weren't actually taunting got flagged for, according to Florio. For many officials, the flag came out whenever players got face-to-face after a play, even if the purpose was to express displeasure regarding the way the defender struck the offensive player, which by definition, letter of the law and the way the league's rulebook says, is not taunting.
I have displeasure with how you just struck me, sir.
No, I think it would be more in line, and I think you would be on board with this, Lonzo, if a defensive player was to pop the quarterback late and the offensive lineman was to get into the linebacker's face to protect his dude, he could be flagged for taunting, or scratch that. Should not by the letter of the law, but there were instances this year where they were flagged with the taunting call for getting between the defensive player and the quarterback that just got racked.
I don't recall seeing any of that. Do you? I mean, yeah, that's not taunting, that's defending your quarterback, but I don't remember seeing that ever. Must have happened in like a Detroit game or something that nobody watches.
The other interesting thing, and we talked a little bit about this the day, Lonzo, after your Kansas City Chiefs knocked off the Buffalo Bills in the AFC divisional round. Tyreek Hill scored a touchdown, and on his way into the end zone, being chased down by a Buffalo Bills defensive back, and of course, nobody's chasing down Tyreek. Reek turned around and threw the peace sign up in his face on the way into the end zone. The exact thing that had been called multiple times during the regular season was not called in that playoff game. Granted, it wouldn't really matter in the long run because all it made was the extra point harder. Maybe it changes the game, maybe it doesn't.
What he was doing, he was telling the rest of the team we're going for 2. I don't understand why there's confusion there. That's what he was doing. The other guy just happened to be in the way.
That's what it was. That's what it was. See, Lonzo's got it all figured out, ladies and gentlemen. We all need to be him when we grow up. I think the inconsistency. I think the inconsistency is what's got people up in arms about this. I think the inconsistency is what bugs people.
Though. You absolutely cannot fix that. It's like strike zones in baseball. And no, we can't have robo referees, not yet. No, you cannot fix that. It's going to still be basically an opinion as to what taunting is.
What if
as you point, taunting are 2 totally different things.
Right. Isn't that a problem, though? Isn't it a problem?
I don't. Well, the only way to fix it would be to take away the taunting rule, and then look what would happen afterwards. There would be taunting all over the place, and we can't have that.
Oh, guys would be mean to each other on TV. Oh,
without a doubt.
No. Those poor.
Here's a solution. I think we should have degrees of taunting as far as the penalties go. If you turn around and you stare at the guy, that's a 5-yard. If you throw some fingers up, that's a 10. If you throw out an expletive, that's a 15. So we can have degrees, and then what that does, it lessens some of the opinion, because then you know exactly, if I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get this.
Or hear me out here. We just don't have taunting penalties because they're grown men. We just don't have taunting penalties.
Rob,
we could just do that.
Obviously, you just don't believe in sportsmanship.
Your ability to leap from A to B astounds me sometimes, great one. It really does. Astounds me sometimes.
Long jump champion of ESPN. Thank you very much.
The subjectivity of what is a taunting and what is not. And that's all it is, right? It is entirely subjective as to what is a taunting penalty and what is not. We literally just proved to you that if Lonzo was head official of a game and I was head official of a game, I for instance, if Tyreek Hill's running towards the end zone and he turns and he throws the peace sign up to the defender as he boot scoots and boogies into the dirt, I'm not calling that a taunting. If you don't want him to throw up the peace sign, catch him, right? Like, that's not taunting to me. Now, I would say I don't think there's any place for necessarily standing over a player who's been knocked to the ground, right? Like when you physically straddle and stand over them. I don't know that there's a place for that, but that's more along the lines of because you don't know if that player is injured or needs assistance, etc. We're talking player safety at that point. But if guys jabberjaw a little bit out there on the football field, I got news for you. For every 30 seconds of adorable Joe Burrow footage walking around during the Super Bowl and introducing himself to the Rams defensive line that's trying to murder him to tell them how big of a fan he is, right? I don't know if you've seen that video. If you haven't, it's outstanding. Joey B was walking around on the Super Bowl, walking up to Aaron Donald, walking up to Von Miller and other players, and he'd go, hey, Aaron, My name's Joe. It's great to meet you, man. I'm a huge fan. I've been watching you growing up. Like, that's the reason we love Joe Burrow. It was just this cool thing. You know,
So I could just as easily in my mind see him doing that sarcastically.
Oh, he
So-
wasn't. You can see and hear
Okay.
that
All
he
right.
genuinely had an appreciation of, holy crap, I'm playing Aaron Donald, right?
Yeah,
Like, holy crap, that's Von Miller over there.
And yesterday I had you convinced that I have a pick. So yeah, I believe that.
How's the show only halfway over, ladies and gentlemen? How's the show only halfway over? Listen, they're grown men, right? They're grown men, and they're playing a game. They're playing a game. And I know it's a game that has high emotion. It is a very volatile game. People can get swept up and lost in that, and I understand it. But the taunting rule is why we call it the no fun league, right? Like Tyreek throwing up the peace sign is not going to demoralize the next generation of American children. It's
Yeah.
just not.
But in all seriousness, if we use your solution and we get rid of the taunting rule, you don't see that things could get out of hand with that.
That's what unsportsmanlike conduct penalties are for, right? Like if guys get over aggressive and violent, that's what unsportsmanlike conduct is for. That's what dead ball fouls are for. No, I mean, again, I very rarely support legislating behavior in the game, right? They're dudes. Tyreek Hill throwing up the peace sign is not going to cause Von Miller to need a therapist, right? Aaron Donald getting up and staring down at Joe Burrow after sacking him is not going to cause Joey B to need a straitjacket after the game. I don't know why we pretend it do, to the point that we let it influence the ebb and flow of games. That's the problem. If it wasn't having an impressive or an impact on games, I probably would stop caring. But yeesh, it's just too much. It's just too much. So the competition committee starts meeting today in the NFL. May take a stab at changing up the taunting rule. We'll cover that story as it continues to break. Let's come back here in just a moment from right now. The Daytona 500, the Great American Race, runs this Sunday. And when we come back, I'm going to see if I can convince Lonzo to watch a little bit of it. That's next. I'm Rob. He's Zoe. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPN.
Oh, so how's everybody? How's our weekend starting? Good. Steven wants to know what you would name your pig if you actually had a pig, Lonzo.
I forget what I named it yesterday. More than likely, I would name my pig Tom Brady.
Wow. That's what I would name a goat.
Why'd you put me up on the screen by myself?
Because I was trying to wipe my nose and not do. Oh, now I took you off all the way. Nope, now I changed. It's chaos, ladies and gentlemen. Chaos over here.
Ham's a little too obvious, but, wouldn't be bad.
Spider pig, spider pig.
Told the story before, but when I first moved to Gray Court from the city.
Gray Court?
That's where I live.
Gray Court.
Yeah.
Why do we call it the compound when you've got a Skeletor sounding name place that you live? Gray Core or Court?
Court.
Gray Court. Sounds like something out of Game of Thrones. I like it.
Yeah. So when I first moved there, was on the phone with my cousin back in and a guy walks up and knocks on the door, which is really and says, "Excuse me, have you?"
Well, had you seen his pig?
No. So I kind of.
So I want to make sure this poor distraught man had lost his pig, was searching for his pig, and you laughed in his face about it.
No.
Lonzo, you are heartless. I was gonna say, was the pig discovered first and foremost?
Yes, he found his pig.
Good.
It was a pet pig, if I recall.
Was the pig baconized shortly after?
I don't know.
And most importantly of all, how did I just learn that your community's name is Gray Court?
Because when I went to Lawrence County.
You say the compound.
Yeah, and I also said the county. I also don't want. There are some people there who don't. I'm guessing they're country fans. They don't really listen to talk radio, so they don't recognize me. So I kind of like that.
There's Lonzo saying people out in the country don't listen to smart radio.
So you're saying country's not smart? I didn't say that. You did. We're coming back.
That was really well done. Good turnaround. Good turnaround.
21307. Use keyword ESPN followed by your comment. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
All right. Texter says, Uncle Rob, move on. For those of you not watching the stream, I got the chance finally to introduce Nephew Lou to the stream. You've heard me talk about him on the show. Nephew Lou's at the house. So go to the YouTube channel or the Facebook page. Because we stream every show live, and then all of the shows after they're done streaming, the recording is saved at ESPN Upstate on Facebook, ESPN Upstate on Twitter, or the YouTube, The Rob Brown Show. Search that. Let's see. Another texter writes into the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. He says about the Stephon Diggs situation, it was all planned. Any pub is good pub. He must have something coming up. I will tell you, as somebody who has been in the pub game for a very, very long time. Yes, there's the old phrase, any pub is good pub. Kinda, it's true. If your only goal is fame, right? Like if your only goal is to be noticed, then yes, any pub is good pub. But if you have other goals to accomplish, right, that's not necessarily true. Like
other goals, as in, no, baby, you're my only one. Yeah, but I got proof here that doesn't help.
What do you mean you saw me going into room 32C? I have no idea. Oh, that might have been my twin brother. He's here too. Any pub is good pub until you have a goal, which your pub deflects from, right? Like my goal has been to be one of, if not the voice of local sports in Greenville. Like I like being connected to the local teams and being able to bring you guys coaches and managers and owners and presidents and all of that. If I went out tomorrow and got caught with, got busted for a DUI, I promise you that's not good. That's not good pub for me. That ain't good pub, right? It's not helping me accomplish my goal there. So that I don't know. Stephon, listen, it comes down to somebody asked me why I talked about that story, Lonzo. Same reason I talk about 90% of the stuff that we talk about on the show. Because it makes me laugh. That's why.
Because the fact that he thought he could get away with that.
Yeah. It made me laugh. Texter says, so we train these people to be a beast, and then we want the beast to be nice. Come on, man. Yeah, listen, I'm not saying that they should all be allowed to throw up the middle bird at each other while they're playing. But if they jabberjaw, they jabberjaw, right? If you score a touchdown, you should be allowed to dance. Why would you not, right? You should be allowed to dance. Who cares? If you're running and you're outrunning the entire defense, throw up the peace sign. Who cares? I agree. Don't ask these guys to entertain us and then be like, yeah, but don't over entertain us. You know what I mean? Like, don't go crazy with the entertainment.
Boundaries and rules are there for a reason, to protect all of us.
Wow. The West has always been at war at Oceania, says the great one, Lonzo. We've always been at war with West Asia. Let's see. Texture says, get down, turn around, go to town. I did accidentally let slide a boot, scoot, and boogie reference a few minutes ago. Texture, good catch. Lonzo hates country, in case anybody listening ever had not picked up on that yet. ESPN, did you see the Stafford mic'd up video? They just added it yesterday on YouTube. He went and got all protective of Cooper Kupp after Kupp got fouled with the helmet in the end zone. It was cool. Joe in Greer. I didn't see that, but I actually saw that happen in person. So I don't know if you caught it during the Super Bowl itself. When Kupp took the shot to the dome on that would have been touchdown pass in the corner of the end zone that got called back due to offsetting penalties, Kupp got absolutely rocked in the dome and had to take a second to get up. After the hit was over, Matt Stafford ran straight up to the grill of the defensive back who popped Cooper Kupp. It was like in his face. Now, I have not seen the mic'd up video and heard what he had to say yet, but I got to imagine that Stafford was fired up and a couple of expletives may have been let fly. I don't think I have seen, and I'm trying to remember, I'm sure it's happened in the past, and I just don't remember it or haven't seen it. I don't think I've ever seen a QB look like he was about to go to war for his wide receiver, quite like Matt Stafford did when my dude was going after DBs in the middle of the Super Bowl.
Hey, he's smart enough to know I've taken all this criticism my entire career. I got a chance to win the Super Bowl with arguably at least the best receiver this year. Leave my guy alone.
Yeah. Dude, Matty Stafford was absolutely bananas. But here's my question, though, because we didn't really get a chance to talk about this yesterday. We had so much to get to, so busy with interviews and whatnot. Did Matt Stafford have the fastest post-Super Bowl heel turn of all time with that video that went out the other day? If you haven't seen it, there was a photographer taking pictures at the Super Bowl parade, and I don't know, she was up on top of a stage that looked like it was like 7 or 8 feet up in the air over the public crowd, and I don't know if she stepped backwards and fell off. I don't know if the stage collapsed. I don't know exactly what happened, but this young lady fell like 7 or 8 feet while Matt and Kelly Stafford were looking right at her, having her pictures made. This young woman fell like 6 or 7 feet, fractured her back in the fall, and Matt was looking at her. Matt just like his eyes got real big, and then he just turned around and walked away and sent Kelly over to look at it. The internet absolutely turned on Matt Stafford. Was that the fastest post-Super Bowl heel turn of all time, Lonzo?
See, all we see is a snippet of the video. Where did he go? He may have went to go get help. And if he turned really quick to go get help, good for him. I don't know. Do we know where he went? She got help somehow. So maybe he turned to get help. And it's so easy to make a meme out of something just because you can cut it really quick. We don't know where he went. A lot of times, if someone collapses on the floor, I'm trying to help them, but
it's a fair defense. I watched the video a couple of times. Now, Matt Stafford at this point, by the way, there were a lot of people saying that he was drunk at this point. I don't know if that's the case. I know my man was holding a bottle of Aquafina, or at least a clear substance in a bottle of Aquafina. Who knows? But I've seen the video a couple of times, and it's not a great look. Like, here's what I'd say. If he's turning to go get help, Lonzo, he certainly meandered away quickly for a guy who was looking for a doctor.
See, I've only seen like the 2-second or 3-second video or whatever, just him turning and then suddenly it's done. So I don't know if he didn't walk back into a place and say, "Hey man, she just fell. We need some help." I haven't heard yet.
I have not seen.
So we don't know. He turned around. He didn't yell for somebody to come and help. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Everybody else wants to pounce.
Well, do I have news for you, Lonzo? I've just found the video and am happy to share it on the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube and pull up the app. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the type of forensics investigation that you are getting only live on the Rob Brown Show. So here is the video courtesy of CNN. So the young lady falls. Stafford immediately gets this look. Watch his lips. He's like, "Oh, that's not good." Kelly's got the same face over on the right. Stafford turns, immediately starts sipping out of the water bottle, and just casually saunters away. Lonzo, that's not the walk of a man going to look for help. The dude immediately goes to the water bottle. That is that is going to replace the Kermit sipping tea meme on the internet in the near future. That's not a man going to get help. That's a man who's like, I don't want any part of this situation. I am OUT.
Maybe he had to take a drink before he could say something because he's so stunned that his mouth went dry.
You know what I love the most about Lonzo, ladies and gentlemen? He never gives up. He's never going to give up, and I respect the hell out of that. All right, let's take a break. Come back here in just a minute. Wrap up hour number 2. I'm going to try to convince Lonzo to watch some NASCAR on Sunday. Will I be successful? Probably not, but I'm going to try anyway. Next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google Smart.
Yeah, that was exactly the thought that I had. Which, by the way, Keegan Slash, though, did you guys finish Vox Machina by chance? I do not hear you anymore.
Yeah, I went to see
Oh, there you go.
sometime this weekend, either tonight or tomorrow.
I like it. Keegan, I don't know if you saw it yet. I'm not going to give anything away. There is a super dope fight scene in the last two. Actually, there's 2 super dope fight scenes in the last 2 episodes that I got here last night, and I stayed up way later than I should have watching the last 2 episodes. Watched them both, and then immediately watched them both again because of how good it was. But I also know I go into it biased because I've been watching their live stream for so long as well. So
Let me explain this again. There's going to be an echo if I leave my utility in to talk because you're hearing Rob really loud over the. I'm sorry if that came across as mean. I didn't mean it that way. I told you I'm sleepy. The Q speaker is extremely loud, and so he's talking and it's coming through the microphone and back again. And now I'm eating again, just for you, Stephen. Now I'm going to turn the thing off so we get no more echo. I apologize. No way I can fix that problem, though. Except for just not talking.
Stephen, I will tell you, I think we talked about it. We don't know is the answer. We genuinely don't.
It has to do with the microphone and StreamYard settings, and they've tried to fix it. And, I can just not be animated anymore. I can just talk like this. And
no, you can't. Bro.
And by the way, when I was at home doing the show from there, the same thing happened with Owen when he would
Yep,
he
it
would just
did.
cut out. So it's not the person, it's the settings. And our engineering department's awesome, but some things they can't fix because it's not on their end.
Yep.
So
Yup.
by the way, Uncharted was a beautiful movie.
How was the I mean, it looked like it was going to look great.
Yeah, it was beautifully shot.
But how was the movie?
It was
looked like it was going to be convoluted.
No, it was good, not great. If you played the games, then you kind of know how it's going to go.
So it follows the game to some degree.
There are direct excerpts from some of the games.
Oh, because there's like 3 of them, right?
There's 4.
4.
I played 1 and I played 4.
Okay.
I appreciate that, Stephen. We're coming back.
Messing around. Real, unfiltered sports talk on the Rob Brown Show. ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. So we got Daytona 500 on Sunday, the Super Bowl of the NASCAR season, the crown jewel of the NASCAR season, the one race that every driver wants to win before they call it a career. Guys like Kyle Busch going out there and trying to get it done to seal up what has been an otherwise really solid legacy for Rowdy in the 18 car. I watched a chunk of the qualifiers last night, mainly because I had pulled over to a rest station in the rain I was driving through, needed a break, and decided to pull them up on the stream and watch the qualifiers. And I will tell you, they, to a degree, did what I hoped was going to happen with the new next-gen cars that are running on the track, the Gen 7 cars. What I genuinely enjoyed about it was that the drivers seemed, for the most part, to be unafraid to be a little more bumpy and runny than they have been in the past, right? I've told you guys, and those of you that are NASCAR fans, you know this, aerodynamics are everything at the super speedways like Daytona, like Talladega. You have got to be consistent with your airflow. You've got to make sure your car is clean. Any little dents, any little spots, any little holes where air can get in and disrupt the aerodynamics of the car can slow you down tenths to full seconds over the course of a race, which in a place like Daytona can be the difference between first and second, second and third, third and last. It was interesting, especially late in the qualifiers. Now, late in the race is when you usually have the big pileup or two, right? You hear about the big one all the time. But late in that race, guys like Joey Logano and Buescher and Keselowski, the two that won the 2 qualifiers and will start 3rd and 4th on row 2, usually late in the race is when you get to see the bump and run, when you get to see guys start to get a little aggressive and put some risk out there on the line. My question is, if I'm going to sit here and tell you, Lonzo, that last night was some of the most aggressive driving I've seen at Daytona in a hot minute, that we had a couple of wrecks in qualifying late last night down the stretch, and that I think you're going to see some of the most aggressive NASCAR racing we have seen in a number of years, maybe since like the Earnhardt Sr. days. Can I convince you, Lonzo, not to watch the whole race per se, but maybe tune in for, say, the last 30 laps and see if it catches your... If I send Zoe a text that says 25 to go, what are the odds that I'm going to get you to tune in and give it a shot?
Oh, absolutely. And I can't wait to be on Monday to talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lonzo is on one today. All right? Lonzo's just feeling himself today. And I respect it. Well, that was a good segment full of quality NASCAR talk, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a break. I got 1 hour left to go, and then we are calling it for the weekend. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. This is ESPN Upstate, y'all.
By the way, the last the one race, I recorded it and watched the last 50 laps. I'll do that.
Which one?
The one in LA.
Oh, the Clash. Yeah, this is going to be better than that. And that was good. I like how you're like, let me answer the radio question on the stream and give the stream answer on the radio.
I also have to watch the clock and, and stuff.
Station.
Automotive.
Eating helped me a little bit. It'll go away in about 10 minutes, and then I'll go back to my fog.
Go get you some more Doritos, buddy.
No, I've already had my meal. I'm not going to eat more than what I need to eat, so I'm fine. I'm doing all I can, and I'm probably asking for it by saying this, to not get spoiled on the Peacemaker final episode. Although I've already seen the kind of DC cameos in it, so that's already ruining it a little bit. But we'll see.
We can hear Rob's mom in the background talking to Lou. Well, it's a contrary to your belief, Stephen. It's not a mansion, so.
Well, yeah, obviously you're at the guest house.
Yes, I'm in the mother-in-law's dog's veterinarian's suite.
Which is a step up from where you usually stay.
Correct.
20 seconds till intro.
Information you wanted from a trusted source.
Still the best way to stay in touch with upstate sports happenings.
Go ahead, touch your nasty phone. See if I care.
On air, on your smart speaker, or any smart device.
And don't give me any of that "it's not you, it's me" nonsense.
This is ESPN Upstate. Warning.
And check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final hour of the week. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, back in the network studio as we push through a Friday and into a 3-day weekend. Again, if you missed it, we will be off on Monday for El Presidente's Day. I will be returning back to the Upstate on Monday, so we'll be back to our regularly scheduled in-studio broadcast on Tuesday. But in the meantime, you get all of the excellence that you get on a normal day, except I'm in the Sunshine State. That is the only difference. So let's see. Couple of texts that we have got. Let's see. Oh, my gosh, you guys blew up the text line. During the break, the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, 71307. Texter says, I'm going to have to update my Osmond Venn diagram. Texter says, like Goody Mop, they don't dance no more. Texter says, if Cup fell off a stage, he'd give mouth to mouth immediately. question about the Olympics. Do you think that out of respect for China, Putin is waiting until the close of the ceremonies to invade Ukraine? You want the honest truth? I think Vladimir Putin put himself in a bad situation. I think Vladdy thought he was going to get a lot more support for the invasion of Ukraine from China that he did, but then he realized very quickly that China's not going to dedicate any forces to that. They may buy him a little time as far as NATO and the UN sanctioning Russia, because if he does this and he doesn't get support and he gets sanctioned by the governing bodies, Russia's economy, which is already struggling, is going to absolutely collapse, and it's going to come back on him ultimately to answer for that. I think he thought he was going to get more support from China than he's actually getting. And I think the whole thing is feathers ruffling, right? Because at the end of the day, if he pulls back now, he looks weak to the Russians. And if he invades, the Russians are going to get absolutely creamed economically when everybody else except China says, we're not going to do business with you anymore. And that, Lonzo, is why I'm a well-rounded radio host, ladies and gentlemen, because I can do it all. You're welcome.
Well, I would take this time to poo-poo the talk of what you're doing, talking politics on the air, but you were asked about it on the
Correct.
text line.
Correct.
And I don't want to make light of a situation, but to me, Putin is just saying, see what I could do if I want to.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think it's posturing. I think it's entirely posturing. I don't think he's ever going to go in. I think he's posturing. I think he's, you know what he's doing? You know what he is? He's the guy, Lonzo, that in the bar, as soon as anything gets tense, like takes his shirt off and starts flexing, right? Like that's what he is. And literally, I mean that literally, like literally, he likes to take his shirt off and flex.
You're just saying that because there are pictures out there of him shirtless on a horse.
Correct.
That's why. Yes,
he likes to. He's the guy in the bar that before, like nobody else is even thinking about fighting, right? There's like a discussion at the bar. Hey man, that's my chair. Nah, dude, sorry, I was sitting here first. It's not even a fight, but then Putin walks up and takes his shirt off and it's like, it's go time, bro. It's go time, bro. That's what he's doing right now. All right.
I bet he sounds just like that, but in Russian.
It's go time, bro. This is my chair, bro. Let's see. ESPN Stafford, it's a terrible look, but realistic. What was the drunk guy going to do? She fell into a crowd and people were helping her. Stafford was so intoxicated, you could hear it on the other times he talked during the parade. It looked terrible for sure. It didn't look like the person he has shown when not intoxicated. And after he found out what happened later after sober, he felt bad and is paying the hospital bills and replacing her cameras that broke when she fell too. And then finally, the text that I waited for, Lonzo. Hey, Rob, stick to sports. There it is. Yes. Needed it. It's been a while since we got a good old-fashioned stick to sports message. It has been. Hey, I'm not going to stick on the Stafford thing. You're right. It's a bad look. It's unfortunate for that young lady. It's unfortunate for Stafford. I think he did the right thing in trying to help out afterwards. I respect that and I appreciate that greatly. Look, if the guy was hammered, I personally don't care. Okay, he won a Super Bowl. It's a victory parade. It's not a victory church meeting. All right, it's a victory parade. If my dude wants to go YOLO and have fun and throw back some avocado tequila, I'm not here to judge him for it. And maybe Zoe's right. Zoe defended him. Maybe he's right. Maybe Stafford realized, I'm about 3 Tom Brady's too deep to be able to do anything to help the situation. So I'm just going to step back and let it be what it is. Still not a great look. Still not a great look. I love, though, I don't know if you saw, well, I know Zoe saw it because I showed it to him, but I love that during the parade, when the clips started going around of Matt Stafford having thrown back a couple of adult soda pops, that Tom Brady tweeted him and said, hey, Matt, mix in a few waters, trust me. And then not 10 minutes later, we saw Matt Stafford popping back bottles of Aquafina on the stage. That is Tom Brady, Lonzo. He learned his lesson, passing on his knowledge to the quarterbacks of the future. What else can you do but respect the man for it?
because Stafford was obviously on his social media and saw that Tom. Wait, Tom's. You're right. Where's the water? Yeah, that's what happened.
I mean,
maybe Kelly said, "Hey, back off a little bit. Here, drink this." Maybe that's what it is.
You're on TV, Matt. You're on TV. Stop it. All right. A couple more things that I wanted to get into. Heather Dinich of ESPN reported earlier today, ladies and gentlemen, that the College Football Playoff Committee, or at least one of the two major aspects of that committee, has decided that they will not be expanding the college football playoffs at this time. It will remain a 4-team college football playoff at least through the 2025 season. So we've got at least 4 more years of a 4-team playoff. Get used to it, kids, because they are not changing it up. Now, ultimately, and very simply, it comes down to the fact that they could not find an agreement between the small conferences. They could not find an agreement between some of the bigger conferences that had some issues. Like, for instance, the Pac-12 wanted to ensure that the prestige of the Rose Bowl would remain intact, and maybe more importantly, that they would maintain television rights of those games, right? The Big Ten and the Pac-12, with their tie-ins to the Rose Bowl, they get a good chunk of the TV revenue brought in by that bowl game. The SEC in the Sugar Bowl, they get a chunk of that. The ACC in the Orange Bowl, they all get a chunk of the television revenue that comes in. And what effectively was proposed with a 12-team expansion was that the television revenue would have been split up, obviously, because that revenue, those bowl games, would have been used probably as playoff games, right? The New Year's Six Bowls likely turning in, or at least some of them, turning into playoff games, and the TV revenue would ultimately be changed up because of that. There were also obviously and fairly the concerns about the oh gosh, where was it going? I just lost my train of thought. Oh, well, happens to the best of us. Oh, the automatic qualifiers. Yes, I can do this. Stay tuned. There was concern about the automatic qualifiers, right? There were smaller conferences who wanted to make sure that there weren't too many AQs that would automatically bump them out without them getting AQs as well. There were bigger schools that want more AQs because it opened the door for them to get in, etc. There's a lot of different fights about what an AQ was going to ultimately look like. And it got to the point that they just could not come up with any sort of agreement about how they were going to work up. So half the teams basically and effectively walked away from the bargaining table. And the CFP has decided, okay, no mas. We already knew that we had passed the deadline for 2 years from now, not the 2022, but the 2023 season, to expand to 8 or 12. We were already threatening the deadline for the 24 season. And now effectively they said, you know what, screw it, we're done. We don't want to talk about it anymore. We're not going to do this thing until at the earliest 2025. And that is only because that is when the current 14 playoff contract runs up. So it's legally the next time that they can make that move. Heather Dinich also reporting that the expected financial loss from this decision for college football is in the ballpark of about $450 million. And that's really interesting to me, Zoe, because, you know, the proverbial war cry of this show when it comes to why did party X in power of sport Y make decision Z, 90% of the time we say why. Money, 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 money.
It's all about the green, baby.
Money. Exactly right. But for this decision to have been made, they left $450 million out there on the table, which I don't care what conferences you are. $450 million split up, even if every school gets a chunk, is still a significant amount of money that can be invested by these teams down the line, which makes it a little shocking that before that $450 million number came out, I was going, you know what? I really don't think that they're in all that much of a hurry, right? Like, I don't think it's as much of a priority to them as we would like it to be, or at least as the fans want it to be, right? The fact that they left $450 million on the table, Lonzo, is frankly kind of surprising to me.
This makes you think there's a lot more to it than just the money, and they're worried about the uncertainty of like the SEC expanding to the point that it is. Will it break away from the NCAA? There's just a lot of other things that factor in. I still don't understand, even with all that, why they don't just go ahead and expand now.
Yeah, like I said, it's the system is set up the way the system is set up, so that everybody has a voice, and it created a situation where not only does everybody have a voice, but everybody's voice to some degree is equal, right? So the voice of the voice of the smaller FBS conferences matter every bit as much as the Pac-12 and the ACC and the SEC and the Big Ten, and they want to make sure that they've got a shot too, right? Especially after the debacle with the 2017 national championship winning UCF Golden Knights, right? Especially with Cincinnati last year, especially with some of the smaller schools.
UCF would have fared just as well as Cincinnati did.
Oh, I thoroughly believe that Alabama would have waxed UCF by about 50, right? I think they'd have got smoked. The point of, there are times, we've talked about this in other situations, though, there are often times when in order to prove a point, you repeatedly hammer something as true that you don't necessarily believe is true, right? Like, I don't think Alabama would have beat UCF. Or excuse me, I don't flip that, reverse it. I don't think UCF would have beat Alabama. I think Alabama would have waxed them by about 60. No doubt about it to me. However, we didn't get to see them play. We can't know that for sure, right? Boise State was going to lose to Oklahoma in that Fiesta Bowl, and then they didn't. We don't know what the outcome would have been. So I've aggravated Alabama fans with it for many years, but the point was kind of more to make a joke in calling the Golden Knights the national champions for that year. The joke that I am implying there is that because we never got to see them play, we'll never know if it could have been done. Last year, had Cincinnati not gotten in, right? Had Oklahoma State not blown it in the Big 12 championship game and gotten in, I don't think we'd have got Cincinnati. And I promise you, I'd have done the same thing with Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati. I was pulling for Cincinnati, but I picked against Cincinnati in the playoff game for a reason, right? For a reason. I don't think they were there. I don't think they're in that spot. So with that being said, the point that I drive home there is these small schools still want a shot. And if you switch to 12 teams, but the formula, the formula that you have in play here still makes it more difficult for smaller teams to have a shot, even with a 12-team playoff, then why the hell would they want to switch, right? Like, why would they want to switch? So you're telling me that we have the same difficult spot, the same difficult shot to get into a 12-team playoff as we did. It's the same difficulty to get into a 12-team playoff as it is to get into a 14 playoff, except now we got to win 3 more games in order to win a championship. Like, why would I add it? Why would I make it tougher on myself for all of us to get money? And because those conferences have the same voting power at the table, I think they shot it down. Now, I'm not entirely sure that at least 2 of the Power 5 conferences also didn't shoot this down. I'm getting the impression, and reading some stuff during the last few breaks, that we may find out that the Big Ten and or Pac-12 also shot the expansion talk down and decided not to go in that direction. There's more for financial reasons than football reasons. But we're not getting expansion until 2025. And I am sitting here wondering, Lonzo, and we'll take a break and I'll address this on the other side. Does this create that potential rift that could see the SEC and maybe another conference or two go, you know what? We don't really need the NCAA anymore. Could this be that jumping off point in 2025? Let's address that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPN Upstate.
Because, Lonzo, I am still bad at my job. I forgot it's Friday. So can we do that next and then Fanboy Friday going into Twitter? Or is that too much non-sports in a row?
Last I checked, it's your show. So you can do what you want, man.
I do what I want with the permission and advice of the great one.
We just did a sports segment. I don't understand why you're concerned about going back-to-back non-sports when you just talk sports.
I usually don't do back-to-back sports. The problem is, and I know I always stick true to the teases that I give, but I just tease the segment that I just tease a segment that I think is absolutely one I need to follow through on.
Well, then you do that. And so I won't put the intro in. We'll just go with what you were talking about. And now I've got to tinkle.
I have to think. All right, well, we'll take a 3-minute break. Stream. We'll be right back. Stick around. Don't go. Didn't mean to breathe in your ear that loud. That was annoying. Sorry about that. Ask your, let's see. I already own a new TV in the game room, but I have an original Nintendo and trying to play Duck Hunt Hogan's Alley. I would have to have a tube TV to play for the reflection from the screen, correct? Or is there another way? I have heard that in order to play Duck Hunt, you have to have a tube TV. I've heard that before. But I don't know. I mean, I've never tried it.
That's not going to work unless I push that button.
Correct.
There's got to be an emulator or a converter out there somewhere, I would think.
Well,
there have been a and they would have to be converted if you can play Duck Hunt with them. I don't know if you can or not.
I've never thought, Lonzo, about how the Duck Hunt gun worked.
It's light, I believe.
Let's see. When the beam strike, no, that's for a different thing. All right, let's see. I don't need 30 freaking pages. Just tell me how it worked. When you point at a duck and pull the trigger, the computer in the NES blacks out the screen and the zapper diode begins reception. Then the computer flashes a solid white block around the target you're supposed to be shooting at. The photodiode in the zapper detects the change in light intensity and tells the computer that it's pointed at a lit target block. In other words, you should get a point because you hit the target. In the event of multiple targets, a white block is drawn around each potential target one at a time. The diode's reception of light combined with the sequence of the drawing of the target lets the computer know that you hit a target and which one it was. Of course, when you're playing the game, you don't notice the blackout and the target's flashing because it all happens in a fraction of a second.
Start listening free when you
So then, no, it should work. It should work. It's not about the reflection.
Dispensing real, unfiltered sports talk
According
every
to the
weekday
nerds.
noon to 3. This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
So we were taking a gander at the decision by the College Football Playoff Committee to push back expansion of the college football playoffs until 2025, when the current contract that they are playing under runs out. Of course, that creates an interesting question, ladies and gentlemen. And the interesting question that it creates is, does this open the door for a more dynamic reshaping of college football, right? We have heard for a couple of years now that there is the potential, not decision, but potential that we can see the Power 5 conferences go, you know what? We don't really need the NCAA anymore, right? We can run our own thing. And theoretically speaking, they could. There are a lot of sports that have, or a lot of NCAA sports that receive very little help from the NCAA and still manage the way to work. I can't imagine that Power 5 football teams couldn't figure it out and create a 5-conference super league between the Power 5 conferences. And the more I thought about it during the break, the more I think, y'all, 2025 might be a Richter scale moment in terms of college football, because this does, I believe, open the door. If the Power 5 conferences were ever going to take a shot, if they were ever going to say, you know what, YOLO, let's go, let's try it, let's get out, let's create our own league. We don't have to worry about Cincinnati and UCF. We don't have to worry about what the All-American Conference or the Mountain West or the Big Sky Conferences won. We just going to do our own thing. We're going to take the best 5 conferences in football, have a national championship, and let the rest of those boys do whatever they want. We'll just play amongst ourselves, right? Number one, like it or not, that would immediately become the superior product, right? Like, it just would. If the Power 5 conferences broke away and formed their own league, it would immediately be the competitor of choice amongst the majority of college football fans around the country, no doubt about it. But the interesting thing is that with the contract running up in 2025, I wonder if the Power 5 conferences press the College Football Committee and press the NCAA to get more concessions between now and then, right? Like, do you think that they would float the potential for leaving and creating their own organization, for lack of a better word? Do you think they'd float the threat of creating their own organization in front of the College Football Playoff Committee and go, here's the deal. We want it structured this way. And if you don't structure it this way, then we're going to take our ball and go play on our own field, right? We want this concession. We want this concession. We want the Rose Bowl to be this. We want the Sugar and the Orange Bowls to be this. We want this much money. We want automatic qualifiers put together this way or that way. And if you don't do these things, then we, the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the ACC, the SEC, we move on. And the Big 12, we're gone. We'll go do our own thing. When the contract comes up in 2025, that last year, Lonzo, I think, 2 years from now in 2024, at this point in time, last year of the contract, I think the show you and I are going to be doing 2 years from now on this day is going to be very tense. And I think it's going to be tense because if the door was ever going to be opened for the Power 5 conferences to finally do what has been a long-thought possibility, a long-thought rumor, and pull the trigger on creating their own thing, this is the door opening for them to do it.
This is one of those things where we thought we would never get a playoff period, and every year it seemed like they would poo-poo it and it never would happen, and suddenly now we've had it for a while. So this is going to happen eventually. I don't know if it happens 4 years from now. It may take another decade.
So, I would have thought that, and I think that's a real possibility. I'd have thought that, Zoe. But a lot of this has been held together by the fact that all these teams all these conferences agreed to the contract that we are currently under, right? Like that's what's been the glue that's held this together. When 2025 rolls around and that contract's not in place, and again, listen, I'm not a lawyer. Some of y'all out there, there may be a lawyer out there that is far more in tune to what the actual legal possibilities and ramifications of this ultimately will be. But as a not lawyer, when I look at this, it's a spot that says to me, the door opens because what can the pushback be, right? If the Power 5 conferences, who, let's be real, finance this playoff, right? They're the ones that bring in the money to make this thing as profitable of an enterprise as it is. If the Power 5 conferences that ultimately fund the college football playoff come to the college football playoff and drop in "I want it that way" on them and say, you either do it our way or we do our own thing our way, and they can get on the same page. And again, a big chunk of this is going to be there are differences in opinion between the Power 5 conferences. The rumor floating that I've seen right now is that either the Big Ten or the Pac-12, or perhaps both, voted against the expansion model as presented because they wanted to keep the prestige of the Rose Bowl in place. They didn't want the Rose Bowl to become just kind of a generic playoff game where, this year the Rose Bowl is going to host number 3 versus number 10. And there's no Big Ten or Pac-12 teams in there. They didn't want that. They want the Rose Bowl to maintain whatever level of prestige they believe that it has. And I doubt the ACC and the SEC and the Big 12 care about that, right? Like, what does the SEC, what does Jim Phillips and the ACC care whether or not there's a Big 10 and a Pac-12 team in the Rose Bowl? So there are still differences of opinion within the Power 5 conferences that ultimately pull the trigger on this decision. But there is a number somewhere out there, and there is a policy, a setup for an expanded college playoff out there somewhere that the 5 power conferences will agree on. Do they have the strength? Can they go play bully ball with the College Football Playoff Committee and say, look, do it this way, or we'll go somewhere and create our own system where it is done this way, and kind of strong arm them? And if that is the case, what does that do to Conference USA? What does that do to the future Cincinnati's and the future UCFs of the world that go undefeated and have a highlight win and want a chance to get in? But now there is no playoff 5 anymore. Now every team in the playoff of the College Football Playoff Committee is a Conference USA team, right? That's a death blow. It's a death blow for that committee. So I'm just intrigued because I think the possibilities for what come next, what come after this, I think it's wide open. I really do. I think it's wide open. I think there's a ton of potential for a new organization or a playoff committee that stays intact but is bullied by the Power 5. Or maybe the Power 5 can't come up with an agreement. Maybe the 5 power conferences go, you know what? Hey, Big 10, Big 12, we don't care about your Rose Bowl. We're not going in. And they go, well, that's our hard line. We're not changing anything about it either. And we don't have a choice but to sign another 14 playoff the way that it has been written, the way that it is now, and keep it in place for another 10 years without expansion. We don't get paid, Lonzo, to say, I don't know, right? Our job is to form opinions. Our job is to form an opinion and put some weight into that opinion and throw it out there. We don't get paid to say, I know. But this is one of those times I'm going to say my opinion is, I don't know, because there's 10,000 moving parts and 20,000 voices that have input on this. And I don't know who, if any of them, went out in the end.
We will have a better opinion of this like in 3 years from now.
No, I agree.
As it gets closer, we're going to see, earlier you talked about people, some of these guys were concerned about the landscape of college football because of the transfer portal and NIL and all that kind of stuff. And those things are still fairly young. So a couple of years from now, we will see the real effect on college football, and that might help us form a better opinion.
Yeah, I don't think that we can guess, right? We can guess. That's pretty much the best we can do right now. We can guess. I guessed about 7 months ago that 2023 was going to be the year we had a 12-team expansion. That was my guess. The more we've gone on, obviously now we know for a fact that that's not happening. It was 2023 and then 24 and then 25, and now I don't even know if it's in 25. I will say this. I don't do this often. If you're flipping sports radio stations today and somebody tells you this is what's going to happen in 2025, I don't care if it's Bob Bowlesby himself. They don't know. They don't know. I don't care if it's Bowlesby or Swarbrick or Phillips or any of the other power brokers. If anybody tells you today, this is what's going to happen in college football in 2025, they don't know. They're making it up. They're taking a guess because, again, this is so volatile. They are so – look, if I'd have told you yesterday that the Power 5 conferences were going to come to an indecision that was going to cost football $450 million, you'd have gone, that's crazy, Rob. They wouldn't leave that much on the table, but that's exactly what they did. Nobody knows what's going to happen because it's an incredibly volatile situation, because there are 1,000 chefs in a very small kitchen. Good luck. Good luck getting a decision. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we'll do a little Fanboy Friday, Twitter trending topics to wrap it all up on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo and you. This is ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
Breaking the law, breaking the law.
I can tell you, I don't think Uncharted will do that well. Because
Right.
theater last night, and usually you can judge it fairly well on a Thursday night showing. Still, a lot of people don't realize that movies open around here on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
At least the supposed blockbusters do. And I was in IMAX, so maybe the regular theaters were full. But look at the parking lot; it wasn't full like when Spider-Man came out or some of the other movies. So, and in the end, it's a video game movie, and not a whole lot of people know about it. And I think if they do go see it, it's because Tom Holland's in it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of crossover there.
Or
Mac Wabeck.
Good, by the way.
I'm sure both of those guys are phenomenal and great comedic timing out of both of them. So I'm sure it wasn't the names and it wasn't the chemistry that had me question marked about it. It was, I don't know. I don't know how to define it, right? Like, you've heard the old phrase from Tipper Gore when they asked her in front of the Supreme Court, like, how do you define pornography? And she's like, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it, right? Like, if you ask me where the line is in a movie that they go so far with the unbelievable things that, like the and again, I've only seen it in the preview because I haven't seen the movie, but I saw the part where they were flying an old pirate ship through a canyon, right? Like, that's the spot where I looked at that and I'm like, all right, this is kind of ridiculous, guys.
Actually, no, that was pretty cool. I've never seen helicopters like what they used. It's not a normal helicopter. It's a helicopter with a crane on it. Now, you can enough to hold together, and I'm not going to say they do or not. But the helicopter before they have where the crane comes down. And we know people. And so it makes sense that there would be a lot of equipment that goes along with that. The helicopters were really cool, though. And, a few months ago, we didn't think there were helicopter chainsaws, but we were wrong.
That is the most valid argument you've made today.
One minute break.
Players Association will meet in person daily to continue negotiations on a new collective bargaining agreement. MLB has said a new labor deal is needed by February 28th for the regular season to start on time.
Breaking the law, breaking the law. Wow.
Before the current contract expires, the 10 FBS commissioners and Notre Dame AD Jack Swarbrick would have to have unanimously agreed on it.
And now for something completely different.
Great Scott.
What the hell are you? I'm Batman.
That's very funny to me. Y'all ain't laughing though. Avengers!
Assemble.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. What are you looking at, butthead?
You are without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of. But you have heard of me.
Inconceivable!
Welcome to the desert of the real.
When you hear the lightsabers clash, it's time for Fanboy Friday, where me and Alonzo bring all the nerdy stuff we talk about off the air on the air to talk about it with you. And we are at the last couple of weeks, no shortage of topics to get to. I will tell you, Zoe, that I will go ahead and give you the old Boy Scouts promise of solemn that I will have Boba Fett finished by the time that I get back to Greenville. I will have Peacemaker finished back by the time I get to Greenville. I did finish Vox Machina last night on Prime Video, which I thought they did a phenomenal job with for the concept of how that show came about and what it is. I thought they did an excellent job with it. The one thing that's in the atmosphere that I make no promises about seeing in theaters, though I probably will see it when it comes to whatever streaming service it's going to come to. The one thing that I just can't, I don't know why, but I've just been unable to get to a point where I want to see it is the movie that you saw last night, Uncharted. I don't know why. I like Wahlberg. I like Tom Holland. I like adventure. I like video game-based movies. For some reason, all the trailers I've seen, it just has not caught my eye for one reason or the next.
Well, I really liked I have all 4 games. I've played 2 of them. I played the first one and the last one. The last one was just to prove a point, but I did beat that game, and I like the games. The movie was good. If you have nothing to do this weekend and you just want to go see a movie, go see it. You're not going to come out of it and go, man, that movie sucked, because it doesn't. It's good, and you're not going to come out of it like you did after you saw Spider-Man or Ghostbusters.
Sure.
You're not going to have that feeling, but you're not going to come out going, oh man, why did I waste my money? You're not going to do that. It's visually stunning. The locales are real locales from what I gather. I mean, these are places I've heard of before. And most of the stunts are realistic. It's not as far-fetched as someone jumping a car and getting caught by a helicopter and then make it into a building, like a Fast 5 movie or something like that. Fast and Furious. Yeah, it's not like that. Most of the stunts are fairly realistic, and some things are pulled directly out of the games and put on the screen.
I wonder if I'd have played the games if I'd feel differently, right? I never got, it's not, from what I understand, everything about Uncharted, I'd really like it. it's just one of those games that at the time that it came out, there was so much else going on that I just never got to it. Plus, I believe it's a PlayStation exclusive. And I have been an Xbox guy for so long that I just kind of missed the window, I think. Is there a point, I asked you this off the air the other day, is there a point, Zoe, where a game has been out too long for you to pick it up? I know you've said this with movies before, right? Like a movie's been out for a while and everybody builds it up and tells you, you got to see it, and it makes you less want to see it. Is it the same thing for video games with you? Like if you miss a game window, do you become less tempted to go back over time?
For the most part, yeah, but I think it also depends on if like, let's say something comes out on Game Pass that was out a year or so ago that I just never got around to, I couldn't afford it or something, and everybody else has already played it and they've kind of spoiled it for me, but there's not another new game out, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. As far as Uncharted goes, that's one of those things for me. It was on sale on PS4, the first 3, I think it was like $10. And I'm like, you know what? This thing is done really well. A lot of people like it. Let me just go ahead and throw down the $10 and start playing it. And I liked it. And then Mark Ryan was playing part 4 and he was struggling, and he doesn't like to get help from the internet, which I don't blame him. There are a lot of people like that. And so he's like, I'm struggling with this one part. And I told him, like, let me buy the game and see if I can get to where you are. And maybe I can give you hints without spoiling. And that's what I did. And then I got past it and I beat it twice before he beat it, but he got there eventually. But I'm more of a gamer than he is. And it's a good game. Part 4, the movie lifts a lot from part 4. That's all I'm saying. And it does it accurately. There's a couple characters missing that I was hoping would be in the movie, but there's also chances for sequels. I don't think it's going to make enough money for sequels, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Like I said, it certainly got the star power. That didn't question me. It certainly got the look. It looks like it was a well-shot movie. That doesn't bother me.
Good, and the banter is good. You would like the banter because it's kind of smart aleck, back and forth type stuff, one-upmanship kind of thing. Not in a mean way, but it's kind of like being in the office here.
Well, I was gonna say, so It's just Tuesday. Perfect.
Yeah,
love to
absolutely. And that's I love movies with that kind of humor, and it definitely has a bunch of that.
Love it. Love to hear it. Yeah, I like I said, it just didn't jump out at me. That's not to say it's bad. It's not to say it's not going to be good. It just, when I saw the trailer for it, it just did not jump out at me the way that previous video games turned movie have. Even the Tomb Raider movies, when they dropped with Lara Croft, Angelina Jolie, as somebody who grew up obviously with Tomb Raider, I was like, okay, I got to see this. And like, I feel like Uncharted is just kind of like modern day Tomb Raider, right?
You mix that and some Indiana Jones into it. Yeah.
Sure. It's just modern day Tomb Raider, and that, like, Tomb Raider worked for me, but for some reason, I can't tell you why. As the Eagles would say, it just didn't catch with me.
This wasn't a I gotta go see this movie. This was, you know what? This comes out, ain't got nothing going on. Let's go watch it.
Fair enough. And we are, Lonzo, about 2 weeks away from the drop of Batman, which you and I will be seeing on Thursday night, release night. I have seen the couple of different iterations of the Catwoman trailer, which shows kind of gives the preview of their relationship. She's gonna die in this movie, Lonzo. I'm calling that shot now.
I disagree. I don't think she's going to die in this movie. I would tell you the IMAX preview. The preview was on last night in IMAX where I went to see Uncharted, and it was a different preview than I'd seen before, and it was pretty cool.
Love it. Love it. Can't wait. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Twitter Trending Topics wraps it up for the week. We put a pin on it, hand it on over to Mark and Diesel, and then we'll see you next Tuesday. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. Back after this. It's ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
10-4.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Tell you about my friend. kind of want to play Duck Hunt now, Alonzo.
I don't blame you.
I still have my NES packed up somewhere. I need to find it. Courtney's got one too.
I could play Duck Hunt, or I could go home and throw on my PSVR and play Farpoint, which is you're fighting aliens, including facehuggers, on sides of cliffs. And I have an aim control, which is like holding a rifle.
Right.
And you move your hands, you look at it, and whatever rifle you have, it looks like that rifle.
That's rad.
Yeah, it is.
That's rad.
The first time I was on the side of a mountain and was not expecting a face hugger to jump at my face, it was not good.
You know what game I really want to play, and I don't know why, because I don't like jump scares, but they made Alien, and I can't Revenant. I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, they made an Alien game where you hunt the alien while the alien simultaneously hunts you, but the alien AI learns your tactics as you go.
Is that I think there's an Alien game on Xbox Game Pass right now.
It's probably that one.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
30 seconds.
You can play it multiplayer or you can play it alone, but the xenomorph hunts you while you hunt it, and the AI learns your tactics. So you can't just like hide in corners every time, because she'll eventually start waiting for you in corners, and like you can't just walk on the outside of the light because she'll walk on the other side. It's awesome.
Doesn't sound awesome to me.
Twitter trending topics.
It's time for Twitter trending topics as Lonzo forgets that he's the one who has to intro the thing.
Lonzo was looking at me like, are you going to talk, dolt?
Did you see the line?
Yep, I sure did.
Don't worry, I will get a nap like in an hour or so.
Lonzo's going to be under the desk asleep in a minute.
I might be. It's going to be awful quiet in there. It really is. All right, here it's trending. It trends every day. But because it's going to allow someone to brag, Wordle is trending.
Your boy, last night, I panicked a little bit because I thought I was in trouble. But your boy last night, Lonzo, now on a 43 consecutive correct day streak now. 43. Got it last night on guess number 5. And what happens here is, I know it's only 5 letters, but what trips me up every single time, Lonzo, is double letters, right? The same letters in 2 places. Because if you guess, like, for instance, if you get, and this, I'm not going to give you a letter that's in the word, but like if you guess, oh goodness, I don't know, D, right? And the word is dudes, D-U-D-E-S. And you put the D in the first word, it doesn't tell you there's 2 Ds, right? It just tells you there's a D in the word and it ends it there. And if you guess the D in the right place, it lights it up as green, but it doesn't tell you there's another D. Well, today's word had a double letter in it, and it almost got me. But I basically got down to the point where there was only one word it could have been, and I got very lucky on guess number 5. But yeah, 43-day streak. I'm gunning for 50 at this point.
Well, I still haven't played it yet just because I don't bow to peer pressure. And I know I can never measure up to how well you have done, and there's no catching up. We talked about in Fanboy Friday about, games that, other people are playing and you waited too long to start. This will be one of those.
Nah, it's great. It's a lot of fun. It genuinely is a fun little, it's a good, I use it as a good start to the day, right? Like, it's either the last thing I do before I go to bed because it cools me off, or the first thing I do awake in the morning because it's like mental stretching. I love it. It's a fun little goofy game to kill 10, 15 minutes, or like me at 1:45 this morning, 36 minutes because you're having an anxiety attack that you're about to lose your 43-day streak.
Well, I don't know how awake most people are at that time, but I realize you just drove all the way from here to Florida.
In the rain, I was ramped.
It's
true.
Fairly alert. All right, the next thing that's trending is The Undertaker.
Undertaker is going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. So I guess I was going to say, I guess that means we can go ahead and consider the career over. But obviously we've seen plenty of Hall of Famers that have come back and wrestled more. But I got to think he's got to be done. That being said, if you ask Lonzo what wrestler alive today probably had the biggest impact on professional wrestling, it has to be The Undertaker, right? Like Stone Cold, The Rock, all those guys, very important. I think both of those guys are probably on the Mount Rushmore. But if you ask me Mount Rushmore, I could give you 4, and then the Undertaker statue goes on top even bigger than that.
Well, and he consistently was there year after year, decade after decade.
Oh, yeah.
You heard the gong, you knew who it was. Even people who were not into wrestling, including, the guys on the next show. I bet if they heard that gong, the first thought would be Tom.
Well played. Well played. We got one more or 2 more or 4 more?
We got a couple more. All right. The next thing that's trending, which probably won't be a big deal to you, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre is trending. I know you're not into those kind of movies.
So I've said this before. I'm into psychological movies, right? Like gore porn doesn't do it for me, and jump scare movies don't do it. Psychological. I've seen the first one only because there is an edge of psychological thriller to Leatherface, right? Like
this is supposedly a direct sequel to the first one.
Okay.
So you ignore all and go from the first one to this one, and it's on Netflix.
I may give it a shot. What I found is that the sequels to the old school horror movies, which I've seen a lot of over the years, most of them unwillingly, is I think some directors start to rely too much on what they can do with CGI. And the more CGI you put in, the more uncanny it gets, the less psychologically terrifying the bad guy becomes, to the point that it almost becomes like you feel like you're watching a cartoon instead of a movie. And I just hope they don't do that to this one, because he's one of the great bad guys that is a genuine psychological threat. Okay, good enough. That's it. We're going home. Hey, have a good weekend, everybody. Enjoy it. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Remember, we're off on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday to do it all over again and try harder. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. Had a good time. Mark Ryan and Diesel up next on Offsides. I am sincerely in debt to all of you. 2 years in the books, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to a lot more. See you back here on Tuesday to celebrate on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. Later, brother.
ESPN Upstate. WYRD
Thanks, everybody on the
Greenville,
stream. We will
WRD
see you.
Spartanburg.